What up, it's Guru Jojo. In this video I'm going to be speaking about healing from issues of self-denial or just being in denial in general in life. We all go through this. This is a very important video actually. It's literally just going to be about the difference between, having your guard up, being suspicious versus actually just being in denial. And this is something that's commonly intertwined, and it's something that can be easily resolved when you actually can realize what's going on in a situation. So in general, we raise suspicion, all the time because we've been through experiences. We sometimes haven't been through experiences, but we watch TVs and shows and we see certain things occurring in these TVs and shows, and it then has an impact on our life and how we operate and how we start to perceive people and how we start to perceive society and how we start to perceive particular circumstances. And this causes us to think, in a particular way and to have our guard up. Okay, that's natural suspicion. But what's happening a lot of time is there's a subconscious trigger that's causing us to raise the suspicion. And this is where things become very important, because there's a difference between appropriately having suspicion towards a particular situation versus just being in denial, meaning that you just don't want to believe something, you prefer to perceive something in your own way which may not be true. And therefore any sort of truth that is being presented right in front of your face, you still will be in denial of the circumstance. This is an issue because now a person is on guard for a lie, for a defense mechanism that they've created. Why does this happen? Why do people create these defense mechanisms for situations that clearly isn't necessary to have these defense mechanisms for? What causes something like that? Well, what causes this is most likely some sort of issue in childhood. And so before we even get into that, how do we differentiate between, appropriate defense mechanisms, appropriate times of having your guard up versus actually just being in denial? The difference between it is basically if you're noticing that someone or something or a situation is making sense, everything is out there for it to make sense, but you somehow keep looking for something to be wrong, you need to sit back and realize that it could be you. It really could actually be you. And so you kind of need to sit there and think like, am I really just keep searching for something to be wrong in this circumstance? This is the reason why some people can't keep relationships. This is the reason why some people stay in bad relationships. They know that relationship is bad. And what happens is they end up using those defenses on the wrong situation. Again, a comprehension issue. So when we escape, the truth so much, we will take that truth and implant it into something else that it was not needed for. You could have a feeling that something is wrong in one area of your life and you don't want to deal with that situation. You want to keep creating walls. You want to keep having a defense mechanism with that situation. And then what you'll do is you'll literally take all the issues in that situation, put a blindfold towards it, act like that situation is good for you. Act like that this situation is truthful. Act like there's no suspicion towards that situation. Take all its flaws and run away with it and go and throw it at somebody else and then try to pretend like they're the issue, they're the problem. This could be done at work. This could be done with your friends. This could be done with your flipping dog. Like your dog don't be doing nothing. It perfectly behaves itself. But you think that your dog is like taking stuff from you on a day-to-day basis while you're at work, when really you're just pissed off because your boyfriend is lying to you. and you know he's lying to you and he's a flipping liar, or your girlfriend's lying to you, he's a flipping liar, and you basically prefer to not believe that. Therefore, that feeling of not believing gets projected in a different scenario, in a different situation. This is what people do. And then they keep looking for something to be wrong in a situation that is perfectly fine, or that it never needed to be analyzed in that way in the first place. What needed to be analyzed is your cheating ass girlfriend, or your cheating ass boyfriend, or your shitty ass boss, which you may not be in control of that situation. But my thing is, like, people need to start to acknowledge where they need to be suspicious at, where they need to have their guard up, and stop projecting it onto the wrong things. And this is where there's a difference between, the need to have your guard up, the need to actually be suspicious, versus you just being in denial. Because in denial, it means that you're escaping your problems. Being in denial means that you're escaping the reality. Okay, why would someone do this? Ego. Why does somebody escape reality? Why does someone escape what's really going on in their life? Why does someone try to pretend like something ain't what it is? Ego. E-G-O. No, that's not a spell. That's how you spell the word. It's an ego issue. It's a low frequency of God. Is the ego. The ego is a great thing. It helps you to be able to live in this physical reality. It helps you to be able to feel a sense of certainty, willpower of yourself. But too much of that willpower, you think that you're righteous towards everything, you become in denial. You could become delusional. You can have magical thinking. You could become too self-centered. You think everything's about you. You think that everything is for you. You think that you're the only person in this world. There's many different scenarios going on in this world. This is something that we need to address, because it's only hindering our society from growth. Because if too many people are operating in that fashion, no bueno. That's all I gotta say. So it's important to realize the difference between feeling like you are on guard, or feeling a need to be on guard, something ain't right, versus you're in denial. Everyone else can see there ain't nothing wrong here. Okay? Sometimes people around you are feeding people the wrong information and make you feel on guard about something you shouldn't be on guard about. That means there's a need for you to acquire better judgment skills. Question yourself. Why are you doing this? Why are you looking for everything to be wrong? A lot of times this is from childhood. People have childhood problems. People have been untransformed from parental figures lying to them, parental figures, making them feel like something was true that was false, switching up information a lot, and therefore the child's brain becomes developed in a way in which their rational mind is now perceiving scenarios in their everyday life in that similar fashion, which causes them to be on guard about stuff they shouldn't be on guard about, and then they act calm, cool, and collective towards things that they actually should be on guard about. Address the issue first. Realize, what? Maybe people around me did do things like that to me as a child. Like, people kind of tricked me or played games with me as a child. Whether it be your parental figures, whether it be your siblings, whether it be some of your friends, a group that you were associated with or something. And now this is messing up with your ability to properly perceive and judge things. This is the reason why a lot of people get into bad habits like drinking, because they're so used to being distorted. They grew up in a way in which things were not clear, because they grew up in that way where things were not clear for them. That's what's comfortable for them, is constantly being in a state of non-clarity, of not being clear, of not understanding what's going on, of needing to make things up in their head, because that's the way the person's upbringing was. But you don't have to stay like that forever. You can actually transform from that. You can actually acknowledge that that's what happened. But don't sit there and feel sorry for yourself. Like, oh, I grew up in this way, it's not my fault. No. You have time to change. Don't get locked in. You have time to acknowledge, that issue. You have time to realize that, that's the way that you grew up, and that's the reason why your brain is like that, and that's the reason why you have these preferences and these strange ideals and stuff like that. You see, like I said, for me, like I guys told you, I may have preferences for certain things because of my flaws. Like, for example, I wear contacts and glasses. So when I take my contacts and glasses off, things are already blurry. So my physical vision is blurry. So a lot of times when I'm scrutinizing something, or if I'm really analyzing something, whatever it be, I like to know the details. I like to see things, and I like to know things. And, other people don't. They prefer for things to be unclear. I never understood it. You know what I'm saying? But those are the type of partners, those are the type of people that I attract. So, and that's what I know I would be a good partner in a sense for another person, because I don't play that shit. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so hence my song 4D. Blurry, 40, very 40, forgot the details. That's a lot of people. They don't mind, oh, don't tell me everything. Let me fall into a situation where I'm gonna be hurt again. I prefer that. I'm used to that. I'm kinda liking that feeling these days. No. When are you gonna stand up for yourself and acknowledge the fact that you don't want to feel like that? You actually want to feel good. You actually want to receive good opportunities. Address it. Address the issue, and then transform from it. It starts with, how did I get this way? Why do I have these preferences and these ideals? And then after you address that, you're able to transform from it, because you realize that it's an issue, and then you'll start to send yourself memories when situations like that start to occur. You'll be able to get memories to remember, it's happening again, and then you will gain more clarity, because you'll start paying attention to stuff more. You may start asking questions, and then eventually you'll come into clarity and see the truth, and you won't have the need to keep asking questions. You won't have the need to keep manipulating because you're suspicious. You won't have the need to keep having your guard up. You'll actually see the truth. See? That was the channel message for this video. That's what I want to speak about. There's a big difference between someone who is just needing to be on guard, right? Maybe somebody's walking over towards you and they're angry looking. You don't know them. You may be a little bit on guard, right? When I'm walking the streets of New York City, which is not often, but this is a thought that I've remembered, I always am stiff as hell, because in New York, they don't care. They have no boundaries. They bump right into you. And I'm a smaller person, so people just think they can like push me down. No, okay, I'd be like, So people be running into me. They be like, pop, and they be like, oh shoot, like I didn't know that was gonna happen. Yeah, that's right. I got my guard up in New York City, but you know what I'm saying. I'm not gonna sit there and be suspicious the whole entire time. I have like certain boundaries. I have discernment, in the way that I behave. Now, being in denial in a situation like that would be a person who won't acknowledge the fact that in New York City, people don't really give you any personal space, and they will bump into your shoulder. So you're in denial about that. Okay, your friend tells you that this happens, and it's happened the last 2 times you went to New York City. You got shoulder bumped. You're convinced that it's your friend because your friend just has an aggressive vibe. That's what you think. Your friend has an aggressive vibe. So you're always just like, no, New York City's not like that. That's just you, because you just come off aggressive. Every time we walk with you in New York City, I always get shoulder bumped. So then you go to New York City with your friend again. You don't have your guard up, but you do. But you don't have your guard up for the right reasons. Like, you have your guard up because you think you've convinced yourself from being in the know that it's your friend the reason why you get shoulder bumped. So you're walking in New York City, so you just all loose and stuff, boom, you get shoulder bumped. You get shoulder bumped again by the McDonald's, because people hungry, they rushing into the McDonald's. You don't see that. You don't actually put 2 and 2 together, process that information that you actually in New York City at 5 p.m., people coming back from work, they hungry. They getting their dinner. And instead, you're like, oh, it's your aggressive friend. That's in denial instead of actually facing the reality of the situation. So you're all suspicious and stuff of your friend's behavior because you think that's contributing to you getting shoulder bumped. That might be a bad example, but do you get what I'm saying? Like, the fact is that in New York City, people are in a rush and they're just walking. That's the way they operate. It's not your friend, but you think it's your friend because your friend's like a wrestler or something. So you think it's his aggressive vibe that's causing people to shoulder bump you. But if you actually just go and you can research it, here's the difference between in denial and, being suspicious. If you have the opportunity to gain insight on the situation at hand by just not being lazy, possibly doing some research, looking up some information, coming into a conclusion, but you decide not to, you decide to make up a story in your head instead of actually acknowledging the truth. You run away from the truth when it's pretty obvious that you can actually just do some research. Again, you refuse to because you made up a story in your head. You're in denial. You're in denial. Because you could get information, you could get legit facts, but you're choosing not to. You're in denial. I'm telling you this. I see it all the time. Pick up a phone, pick up a computer, pick up a book, and learn it. It's there. But instead, people choose to actually just be in denial. They choose, like, no, I'm not going to research it. I'm going to just look for anything to support my suspicion. Anything to support my suspicion, I'm gonna go with that. That's what it is. That's what it is. Because I got ego issues and I need to keep stroking my ego. I prefer to keep stroking my ego. I pray for you. Shout out to Janae Aiko though. Like, that wasn't anything personal to her. It's just like, because, my son say operate. So I was like, operate, you get it? Nah, okay. That's what's going on. That's what's going on. That's what I see people doing. Key main messages. This is here to help people to transform from being in denial. This is very important in life. It's very important to actually gain that security in your life because this is how you transform the ego. So, if you can actually gain information on a particular situation through anything, any sort of research, through Googling it, you can Google anything today, through finding out information, reading a book, anything. If you can actually get information to put you out of the state of suspicion, but you choose not to, you are in denial and you just want to stroke your ego. If you can't gain actual information, it's like impossible really for you to actually gain insight on that situation. Like, for example, if somebody's cheating on you or something like that, you can't really get the truth of that situation, or else you would be kind of like crossing personal boundaries. Like, maybe you have to, like, ask for their phone or something like that, or ask the person you think that they could be cheating. Do you see how that's a little bit different? But in a situation where you can actually gain information about the situation, like you think that somebody doesn't own a company or something like that, and you can actually just Google it and find out if they own the company, rather than just looking for any sort of sign to indicate that they don't own the company, right? That's being in denial, because you could just Google it to see if they own the company. You could actually just do research to find out that information, but you choose not to. You choose to instead look for signs that prove a possibility of them not being truthful, of them not owning that company or something like that. That's being in denial. And that means you have an ego problem, or you're just lazy, or both. So that's all I really want to say in this video. Also, too, this could be very helpful for people who commonly go through these type of issues where they don't understand the reason why people are suspicious of them. Chances are you attract a lot of people that prefer to be in a state of in denial. So I hope I brought some clarity for both sides. And thank you for watching. Blessings, light, and love. Peace out.